No, no, I'm good.
Oh, okay.
All right. So in 2010, I had come back from unemployment and I had a pretty good amount of money for being 21. I turned 21 overseas, and one of the biggest things that I could do in being a young rebel was buy a motorcycle, to which my mom, as probably any mother would have been worryingly saying, no, 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 in her old Mexican Hispanic voice. But after she actually got to see it, she enjoyed the charismatic features of it. But since then, and over the last 6 years, I've actually had about 2 friends get in motorcycle accidents. Luckily, they've all survived. Some have gone from as far as getting a bad scraped knee. One's had pretty much limited mobility in his knee, and the other one's got in a full head-on collision and still lived about it, which surprised me. So pretty much what my presentation today is about is to bring awareness to motorcycle accidents nationwide and versus California's statistics. Statistics from 2003 to 2013 were that nationwide, the numbers from 2013 were just under 40,000, and that's for overall motorcycle accidents. In California, the numbers were just under 4,000, only being surpassed in 2015 by just about 5,000 accidents and fatalities, which was actually the 3rd time it's ever reached that number in California. So in pretty much some of the statistics were in those incidences in 2011, which was the last dated information I could gather, were those fatalities. Out of that, 22% were involved because they didn't have licenses or had faulty licenses or invalid licenses. 29% were alcohol related, where the alcohol blood content exceeded 0.08%, and a third of those accidents nationwide were actually because of the fact that they weren't wearing helmets, which is something that I'll get to later on in the speech. So there is also a steady decrease in 2008 or 2009 in California, or actually in California and nationwide, due to the weather. Weather being one of the factors in accidents, and also the pretty much limiting the people actually getting on the road. For this one, short clip. I'm sorry if I have a McDonald's commercial to try to do a tube chop, but it didn't really work that well for me.
You're finally meeting this family evade.
So, as you can see from that, some of the actual important factors of that are roughly about 30% of the accidents caused are because of outside factors such as other drivers making a left turn or crossing a double yellow where they shouldn't have. Pretty much that was one of the incidences with one of my friends who was going down the 405, which LA County is one of the highest accident counties in California because of the population and vehicles going through there. So pretty much what happened was he was going on the 405, passing a car, going the speed limit, and he got clipped off by a van. So which, that was his motorcycle after the fact. Luckily, he was able to stand up. He had actually gone over the center divider onto oncoming traffic and was able to stand up, and he actually saw his motorcycle cross all lanes and get onto the off-ramp by itself. So one of the factors with that was how he was, obviously the speed is one of the factors that goes into it along with alcohol. But he had told me, he's like, well, I usually go a little bit over the speed limit, but my fiance had told me to just take it easy. To which I said, see, if you were speeding, you would have never hit that van. But this is actually one of his helmet from that incident. As you can see, it's not so bad, but it is pretty banged up for what it is. And yes, that is the mustache. So pretty much what was a big lifesaver for him was his helmet. Nationwide, there are only 19 states that require helmets, versus those that don't have helmets, or don't have helmet laws. There's the chairman of the National Highway Safety Transportation Association stated that the states with helmet laws and those who wear full face helmets have a 37% chance less of fatality versus those that don't. So pretty much one of the biggest factors is how I've had people ask me, well, why do you wear what I wear when I ride, or why do I wear boots such as Dahlia stated, as she knows what I wear. So for my reference point to what would be a good, pretty much medium to how we should wear is in the Marine Corps, we have to have proper personal protection equipment as to how we can get on a base. So it goes from hard sole shoes that cover the ankle, obviously full length pants, a long sleeve shirt that goes below the elbow, and full face helmets along with full finger gloves. There have been incidences where it's been pretty much brought to reflect, oh, don't wear what it's been, because I know I haven't always worn it, I've worn shorts, but so it's pretty much the debate was in California last year, or this past year, they actually legalized lane splitting because of the fact of they have full helmet law or full helmet laws, which is trying to make it push outward. So where if it actually serves a better purpose, it's going to be the fact that it'll actually save more lives than it won't. So pretty much my conclusion for what it has been is just as a driver, if you're going to be driving, just take a second look, be cautious of your surroundings. Some of the accidents involved are because of texting, and if you decide to ride, just ride safe and obey the speed limits. There's no else to point. Thank you.
Elizabeth, you're not here, are you? Okay. So, I'll tell you what I thought. I think you've got a good personal story at the beginning as an attention device. We know what the topic is pretty clearly from the beginning. Your purpose statement is phrased a little bit awkwardly, but I know what it is ultimately your goal is in the presentation. There's not really a preview of what the structure is going to be, and that is the biggest problem that I see in the speech, that there's not, it doesn't really feel like there's any pattern or way in which the information is being just put together. It feels like you're just moving from one idea to the next without a plan, and well, here's the next piece of information that I remember or I can think of or that I just plugged in here without putting it together in some way. I think there's probably an idea in a couple of spots where there is supposed to be an organizational structure, but it doesn't come across clearly, and there aren't any clear transitions or signposts on those points, so that's problematic. I like some of the supporting material, but some of it is also a little bit confusing and incomplete. The little graphic that you had talking about the accidents at the beginning of the speech, sometimes you were making a reference to 4,000, then it was 40,000, then it was nationwide, then it was California, and it wasn't always very clear what you were talking about. It sounded, my impression is there are 40,000 motorcycle accidents a year, 4,000 of them in California, but I don't know what the fatalities in those particular things are. I don't think it's 4,000 people died in California in motorcycle accidents. That would be really high. So it's probably something different than that, but it just gets mixed in with all those numbers, and you don't do anything to kind of clear it up and pull it out, and the visual doesn't help that much. And there are other places where you have the same kind of thing happening where I wasn't really sure what it was that you were talking about. For instance, I know what lane splitting is, but you never explain what's going on there. We see an example of it in the video sort of thing, but that's maybe a reference that would be helpful. But you start talking about all the clothing that people are wearing, and it's like, the only thing I got is the analogy to the Marine Corps, you know. So, you know, when you're in the Marine Corps, they require this, and you know, when you're riding a motorcycle, well, you have this. And is it protective? How does it protect you? What does it protect you from? The only one that we got much explanation about was the helmet, and then you start talking about the helmet laws. And like I said, it just feels like there's a lot of information in the speech, but it's not being put together in a way that's clarifying things for us. It's just dropping pieces of data here and there. And I don't think that in the long run it's going to be as useful to the audience as it could be, unless it gets put together a little bit more effectively. On the visual materials, like I said, I like the graphic. I just didn't think it was explained very clearly, but I think you've got good information there. The object, you brought in the helmet. I got to be honest with you, I saw a little bit of a scrape on it, but I'm not sure that that was, you know, a big advantage to have here to show us. You know, I don't mean to diminish the value of protecting your friend's life by wearing that helmet, but I'm not sure that it added much to the presentation to have that. The video clip, on the other hand, I thought was pretty effective at showing how these accidents happen very quickly, and frequently they're the fault of some other driver, you know, that situation. Of course, the driver in that car, who is an asshat, by the way, and you know, crossing the double yellow line is just I know people do it. It's bad news, and by the way, it's expensive if you get caught and they write you a ticket. You know, it says $300. That's to start with. They'll add another $700 on that on top of it. So when you're, so when you're sitting there thinking, oh, it's not a big deal, I'll just cross the line, don't do it. Don't do it, because it's not going to be worth it to you. But in that situation, I could easily see the driver saying, well, if you hadn't been splitting the lane, this wouldn't have been a problem. You know, if you'd been in the lane like everybody else is in the lane, you know, you wouldn't have gotten hit. But of course, the motorcyclist is going to go the exact opposite direction. Well, if you hadn't been doing something illegal, I wouldn't have gotten hit either. But I think it's a good illustration, and I'm sure glad that they didn't die.
Yeah.
You know, in the video, I did want to see that. Thank you. You know, you got a little bit lost at one point. That wasn't that big a deal, except that you kind of need to know what it is you're trying to say. And I get the feeling that you have a lot of information, but you're not thinking about, what am I trying to say with all this information? How am I supposed to be putting it together to make sense of something? And that's the place where it's, you know, fallen down. I think you've got good research in the presentation. I think the visuals are pretty solid for the most part. Your speaking is okay. The introduction is good. But organization, source citation's a little inconsistent, except in that a couple of things. It just feels like there are a lot of places that have partial explanations. When you watch your video back, listen to the way you say things, and I think you're going to hear sometimes you just have half an idea, and you're not explaining the idea.
Yeah, I think that's when I actually noticed that doing the time notes, and I was like, I don't know, I noticed I was like, oh man, I'm actually running short on time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I started.
Well, that's why practice helps.
Yeah.
That's why practice helps. All right, thank you.